Beautiful Bravehearts. Happy Saturday. I'm back on with Jim Gale. And Jim has been a friend of mine for probably only, I don't know, what do you think, Jim? Probably about 6 months?
Yep, about that.
And did you ever notice something, everyone? That, you can meet someone for 2 minutes or even 1 minute of your life and you feel so connected. And then you can know people all your life and you never get connected. Isn't that the craziest thing? They say that blood is thicker than water. Well, I don't really know about that. All I know is this is vibration is everything. And when you vibrate to something, you need to really be alert about this because everything is about vibration on this planet. Whether you're talking about emotions, whether you're talking about what you drink, what you think, what you eat, it's all about vibration. It's all about light. Everything is light and everything is about vibration. And why am I saying this? Because guess what? Nobody knows this better than Jim Gale. And this, it means whatever you eat, whatever you drink, leaves the body physically, and you only leave the frequency and the light behind. So, depending on how you look and how you feel and how you act, will depend on how much light you bring in and how high the frequency is. What do you think, Jim?
I think you absolutely nailed it. There's a resonance happening right now where people who are in the mode of faith and courage and service and joy and love are finding each other. I have found more wonderful friends in the last 2 years than all my life put together. It's been absolutely amazing. And Tesla nailed it. Most people have a good opinion of Tesla. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. But I'd like to change one word. Don't think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, but feel it. Feel the frequency all around us that is us. And once we connect to that feeling, that source, that God of omnipotence and omnipresence, then that's when the magic starts happening.
Understand something, everyone, too. And that's what you want to do is you want to protect your frequency. You want to protect your frequency more than anything else because your frequency turns things on. It turns things on. It's all about that. And it's all about caring and loving for yourself and then just shining that light around. Okay. So, Jim, why don't you tell them who you are, what you're up to, and what your goals are. Okay.
Yes, I'll start with the big picture. Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, after studying the most successful people in history, deducted whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And I would suggest everybody sit with that for a while, meditate on that, and ask yourself the question, what can I conceive and believe? And start creating a vision of beauty and of joy and abundance in your life. And when we do that, something magical happens. So with that logic in mind, I don't think he was wrong. He was a very smart guy. I think he was right. By the way, this is also biblical. It's also spiritual. So there's really a lot of agreement around this premise that if we set our minds to something and we collaborate with our friends and family and neighbors, then we can change the world. So our goal, our intention is nothing less than to change the world. And here's exactly how we're going to do it. We are going to inspire and empower people to take the poisons out of their lives and to grow food instead of lawns. That one shift, when we turn 50% of our 44 million acres of lawns that take more poisons than any other crop and do not provide food, when we make that one logical shift, we reverse cancer, diabetes, and heart disease trends. We reverse deforestation, and we turn around mass extinction. And, of course, we end tyranny as well.
Beautiful. And that's it. So why don't you tell everybody what it is you're doing at Food Forest Abundance? I don't think people really understand. And also, can you tell them where to go so that they can actually start following you, and tell them what your goal is?
I sure can. So we launched 22 months ago with the help of Dale Bigtree from the High Wire, and we are now serving people. Food Forest Abundance, and our website is foodforestabundance.com, exists to help you grow food. And we are now serving people in 51 countries and 49 U.S. states. It's absolutely incredible what's happened in 22 months. We now have incredible Emmy Award winners and generals and Green Berets and actors and comedians and singers and influencers of all types that are on our same mission. Our mission is to bring solutions to this crazy time in the world history. And the solution is literally, it's this simple. In fact, Bill Mollison said, if you when I was searching for answers about 13 years ago, and I was very much struggling because I was aware of the problems. And I read Bill Mollison's quote. The quote was, "Though the problems of our world are increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple." And I like to say joyfully simple. The solutions are to rise your energy up to that of faith and courage and joy, and then to go out into your yard and plant seeds. And that's where we help. We've got a team of incredible designers, permaculture designers, which is the same as saying freedom designers. And we design freedom into the landscape of your home, of your property. And it's such a beautiful process.
Beautiful. So basically what he's saying, everyone, is, why don't you turn part of your lawn into a garden? Because corporations, okay, for one thing, does everybody understand that 90% of all the food that exists today didn't exist 90 years ago, and 90% of all the diseases that exist today never existed 90 years ago. So if you're not going to start managing what you eat, what you think, what you drink, and we're actually collaborating with some very powerful people to actually start seeing if we can go around the world and teach people how to take their power back. Jim?
Exactly. And we're doing it very strategically. And I'll give you a few examples. We are right now, with the help of James Layfield and Alan Campbell, designing a Freedom Farm Academy, which is basically a permaculture demonstration site that produces massive yield of all kinds, into an orphanage in Peru. We are also designing a food forest into a prison in Florida. And so imagine, once we show the orphanage model of a completely self-reliant orphanage, and once we show a prison model where the inmates are growing their own food, and by the way, this has happened several times and they've studied this. In one study, the recidivism rate, which means the rate of reincarceration,
Right,
went from 60% down to 8% for those prisoners who were part of these growing programs. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've got so many more things. We're coming to the world with a school that will actually go out into society, into our communities, and help the communities grow food. The students will actually be part of the solution for all the world's biggest problems.
so the reality is, everybody, we have to really truly come together and unite, but we have to unite on a personal level with ourselves and want to protect and respect ourselves first and foremost, because we're being disrespected. We're not being protected out there. And it really is going to come back to self. What do you think, Jim?
100%. All change starts in the heart and in the mind. And I would suggest the heart. And when we take that action as individuals, that's the only thing that we have full control over, is our own actions. So it's time for everyone listening to be a leader right now, because we need leaders to demonstrate health and vitality. What we are asking you to do is not based in a world of scarcity. It's
Right.
based in a world of abundance.
And also, don't base your world on judgment, base it on justice. And that means that we have to look at the unconditional love for ourselves first and foremost. If you can forgive yourself for everything, I'm not saying to ignore things. I'm not saying to allow anyone to disrespect you, but understand this. When Jim's talking about going into these prisons and teaching them about growing their own food, it's about giving them a sense of being, a sense of worth. What is your worth? Everybody has value and everybody has worth. And nowhere in any system do we find more judgment than we do in a prison system. And it's wrong. A prison system is wrong. And we need to be able to first break out of the prison in our minds. What do you think, Jim?
Oh gosh, the whole thing is so wrong, and you're right. The mind is the ultimate prison system. There's three types of BS in this world. There's bad science, which is controlled by the same people who are spraying the poisons on our world. And there's belief systems that come from the mainstream media that are, again, they're a bunch of BS. Belief systems, bad science, and bullshit. And the way we get around that is we turn off all of the narrative that is destroying and controlling the minds of the people. And we start going out and communing with our friends and family and nature again. Nature or God's system, whatever, however you like to perceive this amazing reality, has all of the solutions.
You know, in some way, we have to really think about this. Remember, they always entice us to come into the city, to stay in the city, you know, to get involved in as much as we can in blue light, 5G, and everything electronic. Okay. Understand something. Take a look at the children of today. Take a look at anybody around the age of 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. Where is their focus now? Hey, Jim?
Oh gosh, it's on these screens, and there's something so magical when you start communing with a natural system. The other day, I was watching the most amazing battle. It was a battle on our spinach plants, and there's a particular moth that laid a bunch of eggs, and all of the larvae of the moth were eating the spinach. I came back the next day, and here come the spiders and the geckos and the wasps. And there's this battle right in front of me where the spiders and the geckos and the wasps were protecting my food supply. Most people look at these creatures as an annoyance, or they're scared, when these creatures are our best friends in the garden.
Yes. And you know what, everybody? I just figured out something because I'm on right now 5 different platforms. I don't have Jim's face on, but next time what we'll do is we will do a FaceTime, and then I'll be able to bring the phone up like this, and then you'll be able to see them on all these platforms, because we can't get all these platforms on one platform. But Jim will be coming on. He'll be doing walks through his garden, but understand he's also creating a school. Can you talk about the school? And he's built this already. And we want to create schools all over the world. And can you tell them about the school you're creating?
I sure can. It is the simplest, most logical school model that I've ever heard of in my life. And you could do this with 5 students. You could do this with 25 students. Here's the model. With 25 students, there will be 3 teachers. One will be the primary curriculum teacher, and then an assistant. Another one will
Jim, can you come on FaceTime right now? Can you try? Let's see.
I can try, yes.
Let's see if I'm right. Why not, right? Let's see if we can make this more. That's the big key, is always thinking outside the box.
Look at that.
Okay. All right. So here we go. All right. So there you go, everyone. There's Jim. Let me just turn this phone, because it's very important that everybody sees. Okay, Jim, go ahead. Tell them about your school.
Okay. And by the way, for anybody listening, these are seeds of ideas that you can take. We have no patents. We have no NDAs. We have none of that BS. We are about inspiring people to grow food, because there is a type of war going on right now. And the way to win the war is by simply taking our energy out of the system. So the school is very simple. There'll be 3 teachers and 25 students. The students will pay, at least in our neck of the woods, $1,000 per month, and they will learn self-reliance, and they will create their own food at the school. And that will be done within 3 months, the students will have all of their own food created at the school. Then they will go into their families' yards and they will design and install gardens and food systems for their families. When that's done, which will take maybe 6 to 9 months, maybe a year at the top, then they will go into the community and they will help the community grow food. So they will, in school, they will learn entrepreneurialism and they will learn how to be self-reliant on every logical level. If you're listening to this and you want to operate a school like this, it's the first school model that I know of that creates its own yield, its own profit centers. Within a year, the school will be profitable and everybody wins.
Absolutely. And understand something, everyone. I'm going to tell you what we're doing. Okay. We're creating a system emotionally, nutritionally, and financially. Okay. I'm working with a gentleman called Dr. Ben, and we'll just leave it at that for now, but out of Puerto Rico. How many people know that no matter where you live in Puerto Rico, you can end up getting a corporation and legally just pay 4% in tax for the rest of your life? Or if you get two corporations, that 4% would have to be spent into your own nonprofit. Now, let's say this. Jim comes and he teaches your children about growing your own food, your own sustenance, creating your own vibration in the food that will go into you to create a higher vibration in you. Let's say that I'm right, and whether it's the Canada or United States, England, or anywhere in the world, that you can get a corporation out of Puerto Rico for around, between $4,000 and $5,000 and only pay 4% taxes for the rest of your life legally. And I can say this online here because they can't do anything about it, because this is what all the so-called elite do. They do this exact thing. They can't do and not allow us to do it. But the reality is trying to find somebody that's going to do 1, 2, buckle your shoe, and you're able to just do this. But the reality is guess what? This is not meant for everyone. I was talking to a group of people, and I was in line at the airport, Jim, and they were complaining about the government, how the government, in Canada right now, okay, when I was traveling through, I'm in Canada right now, they were talking, okay, in line at the airport, this group of people, and they were saying, you know what, do you know that now you've got to work until July? So that means January, February, March, April, May, June. You have to work 6 months and the government gets to keep all of it. That's if you don't know what you're doing. But guess what? I said to him, I said, listen, if you want, I could give you a name of somebody, and you guys could get a corporation and pay 4% tax. And they just went on and started talking about Bitcoin. See, and the reality is when Jim talks about how you can grow your own food, our subconscious goes into shock and goes, oh my God, I couldn't do that. When I tell people that they can heal any disease that they have, they go into shock. They can't do that because you're told your whole life that you shouldn't touch yourself, shouldn't touch your family, and nobody knows how to look after themselves or has the intelligence for it. And then when I tell people that, you can get a corporation and pay 4% tax legally, and when it comes across the IRS, or you could be in Australia, you could be in any country in the world and get a corporation out of Puerto Rico, they think I have two heads. The reality is that to try to bring across to the majority of the population something new for the first time, you have to repeat it 11 times with passion and purpose and strength, because it can't get into their head because it's too good to be true. What do you think, Jim? You're too good to be true. You know what I mean?
Yes, and here's the fun part. Growing food. People, I hear this all the time. I have a brown thumb. I have a black thumb. I don't know how to grow food. It's hard. I don't have the time, the money. That's all BS. Growing food. I've never grown a plant in my life. I don't grow food. I build soil, and I design the food systems, and the food grows itself. A well-designed permaculture landscape of perennial plants. Perennials are plants that just continue to grow for generations and sometimes thousands of years, and they take zero maintenance, right? So a food forest is literally a forest of a diversity of food-producing plants that you don't have to maintain at all. And so that's the thing, is to help people realize that the current agricultural system, everything we the stores. As Dr. Wolf said, it wasn't around 100 years ago. It's all been hybridized. When we go back to the perennial food forest, the Garden of Eden vision, it's not a utopic fantasy. It's the most logical way that we can use our land.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you something. When I went to Jim's, I'm going to be back at Jim's, and Jim and I are going to be doing some shows together. I will be at Jim's a week. Let me think here. Oh, a week from today. There it is.
Yep.
And we'll be doing shows together. And guess what? We're going to go back through his whole big garden facility. He's got 80 acres, everyone. And we are going to be sharing things with you. How about this? Actually using copper wire that the chemtrails cannot come over top of his 80 acres. We'll prove that to you. And I know it sounds like hoopla and it's inexpensive. We'll prove to you that the mulch you use on top of your garden is going to be like so important. I mean, we're going to walk through everything, but you know what? There's tricks to the trade. When people go out to garden, they don't understand. You've got to hack the garden. And like Jim said, he doesn't grow food. The soil grows food. And understand this, everyone, just like how we sell humic and fulvic, there's none left in the soil. Just, you need to understand, if the nutrition's not in the soil, it's not in the food, so it's not in you. So you're always going to remain hungry, and you'll never turn off the hunger switch. So understand, you can take juice, some vegetables, and drink a glass of juice, and boom, the hunger switch is gone. You can go eat a whole big bag of chips and a liter of ice cream, and you're still hungry because your body is not looking for anything physical. It's looking for the minerals, the vitamins, the antioxidants, the microorganisms that go in, and they bring in a frequency that actually turns off your appetite because it says, thank you. You've brought your frequency back where we need it to be to help to heal you. Every mineral, every vitamin, everything you take in leaves the body. The only thing that stays behind is the frequency and the light that was in it. And that's why you want things that are fresh, whole plant-based foods, because they capture the sunlight. How much sunlight's in a potato chip? How much sunlight is in a donut? Well, there isn't. It's just a hole.
It's amazing. When I walk out into my living salad bar, like my living salad bar is made of longevity spinach and Okinawa spinach, moringa, sweet potatoes, cranberry hibiscus, and a couple of other plants. And it's there all year long. The only time it wasn't there was after we had a 40-year freeze, the coldest snap in 40 years, and it burned the leaves. Within about a month, then it was popping back, and now it's just exploding again. And any time of the year I want, besides that 1 month, I can go out and get a free, incredibly nutrient-dense salad. Now, if you're in Minnesota, of course, you can't do that 6, 7, 8 months of the year. And that's where I grew up.
Well, that's what we have. Somebody online just said, well, what are we going to do, Jim? I live in Canada. 7 months of the year I can't grow. What are you going to do for me?
I'm glad you asked. Here's what we'll do for you. We'll show you how to can and store food. My mom grew up in Minnesota, and she didn't have running water or electricity until she was 15 years old, and they grew all of the food that they needed to thrive on their property by canning and dehydrating and storing food in the fall. That's how you do it. And by the way, this becomes a community event, and it's super fun.
Absolutely. And then somebody else came on here and said, what about vitamin D? Okay, 1 second. I'll just get rid of it. Somebody else came on here and said, what about vitamin D? Well, guess what? I got a little surprise for you. Northern United States and Northern Canada gets no vitamin D. You need to buy a vitamin D light. If you go on my website, you don't have to buy it from us, but you'll see it's a 5-foot vitamin D light. You can do, and I'm serious, you can do just like 1 minute, okay, or half a minute on 4 sides of your body, and you get enough vitamin D. You're not going to get enough vitamin D if you live in Canada. You only get enough vitamin D in Canada. And understand something, you only get enough vitamin D for only 6 weeks of the year. You think because you see the sunlight, you're getting enough vitamin D. That's why the more north you go, the more there is cancer. That's right. The more north you go, that's why there is depression. And I'm going to tell you guys, I've been in Canada now. I can't wait to get back down to the southern states. Because I'll tell you right now, there's not a lot of sunlight here. And the reality is I can feel the difference in my energy levels. I mean, Lori and I are tired a lot earlier at nighttime than we are when we are where there's lots of sunshine. And where the closer you get to the equator, the more vitamin D you get. End of story. And if I lived in Canada or the United States, and I was in the northern area, I would want to do 15,000, okay, IUs of vitamin D a day. And if I felt like I was coming down with the COVID, or I was under a lot of stress, I would do 50,000 IUs of vitamin D twice a day. And I'm telling you, that's the God's truth. I started getting a little bit of a flu cold, runny nose, because I was a little bit worn down the other day, and I was doing 50,000 IUs of vitamin D in the morning and at night. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. 3 days later, nothing. And because vitamin D is a hormone balancer, it's a immune modulator. So it's so important to you. So take your vitamin D, take a K with it, and you'll feel the difference. Jim, do you have any tips about that?
I know that when I go stand outside, even in cold weather, well prepared, there's something about being present outside with nature that also raises the vibration. A food forest is a symphony of life. The amount of sounds and smells and tastes and colors and the butterflies and the birds, it's like bringing in the Garden of Eden, and you can feel it. It's palpable.
Yeah, everybody, you need to understand this. And now I'm going to get a little bit weird, okay? So we came in here as spirit beings. That means light and frequency energy. That's what we are. We're nothing else. Whether you want to believe this or not, if you don't feed yourself light, energy, and frequency every day, then you're not feeding your spirit. And the reality is take a look at everything they're trying to sell us. Okay, they're trying to alter our frequency and bring our frequency down. I mean, when you eat something and you know that it has life in it, it has taste, it is so full of flavor. You don't have to add any spices, okay, to whole plant-based, organic, high mineral content, microorganism soil. Jim?
No, the building soil, you brought up soil. Soil is the immune system of our planet. Building soil is the most important job for us in this world right now, and then designing life into the soil. So when we do those two things together, when we take out the poisons, build soil, and build life into the soil, we create the solutions for everything. It's really that simple, and that's the part that we want to plant that seed and get that across. And it's up to us this spring. It's spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. Go plant some seeds as soon as you possibly can, and then let the plants be your teachers.
Absolutely. What do you think what's going on over in Holland, how they're trying to take over all the farms? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, this is all one strategy. This isn't a bunch of different countries. Countries are they're just banners for humanity, right? It's all one, good versus evil, or some type of amazing divine experience, game, war, whatever you want to call it. But the beautiful thing is that the solution that we are advocating, God's design, permaculture, nature, it's the same solution that solves all of the problems. Even the carbon narrative. For people who believe in this carbon footprint narrative or the overpopulation narrative, start growing food then. Because food becomes a carbon sink, and it takes the supply chain from 1,500 miles to 150 feet. It's the solution to all the world's biggest problems. It's what Victor Hugo said, when there's one thing stronger than all of the armies of the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. You going out in your yard and planting food is the idea whose time has come.
Let me just say this. Somebody commented, and I get it. I really do. I used to live in Canada. Sorry, you need to step into reality. Gardens won't work in the northern climate.
So that is what a lot of people believe. It's BS, and I say that with love. My friend in northern Minnesota, right, which is off the tip of Lake Superior, where it's very, very cold. He has 300 different species of edible and medicinal plants growing in his paradise. He is attracting birds that have never been documented in the United States. He's got 4 different types of turtles and 7 different types of frogs and massive amounts of life on his property. He can harvest enough food during a short summer to feed his family all winter long and have a massive amount of excess to help to feed the neighbors.
Yeah, just remember, guys, if you freeze it or you can it, you are actually storing the light and the frequency. Did you get that? If you can it or you freeze it, you are actually now putting a hold on the light and the frequency. What do you think, Jim?
Absolutely. You're storing that energy, those calories of life. And when you put love into the system gives you love back tenfold. You can count the seeds in an apple, but you cannot count the apples in a single seed. Nature's system, God's system, is infinite in its ability to create abundance. It's just that we are the stewards of this world. So it's our job to work with the natural system, God's system. And when we do that, we solve all of it.
Okay, so I get it. So somebody's saying, so I got to stop my job to grow food because it's going to take so much time and energy. And listen, these are all good questions. I'm not poking at you, whoever you are. So understand that I would be doing the same thing, because when I think about gardening, I think about, oh my God, all this work. Like, I'm already busy trying to make a living.
You know, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for pointing out these belief systems. And anybody else listening, please do the same. Please publicly state why you believe this is impossible. Because I will guarantee you, based on demonstration sites all over the world, that you're lovingly wrong, right? A food forest is no maintenance. The food forest that we have here in Central Florida, if we walked away from the system for 30 years and came back 30 years later, it would be a massive food forest with infinite productivity. Because, okay, think of this. Think of an oak tree or an elm tree or a poplar or a birch or a pine tree in your neighborhood. How much maintenance do you give that tree for it to survive? And the answer is none. A fruit tree, a berry bush, perennial edible lettuces, and all sorts of other things are the same way. Once you design these into the system using permaculture design, which is proven all over the world, then it is a self-maintaining system, just like the forest all over the world.
Okay, so I've got some people here. Just ask the questions, everyone. And just know this, but when I go there, next Saturday we'll do a show. Next Sunday we'll do a show. We're going to do a show. We're going to walk around the whole area. He's going to get into details about how to hack it, how to grow it, how to know it. We will do that. But Jim, I'm in Alaska. Start inside first. Heck, you can grow them inside. So should we start inside first? Okay. Like, I mean, people are saying, hey, Jim, it's frozen up here. How do I get my garden started now?
You start with the design. That's a great question, because in any construction of anything beautiful, the first thing you do is you conceptualize how to use the land the best. And then you start with a professional's design. That's the most important first step. It's just like building a house or anything. And you can also start by buying seeds now, and you can also start by building soil now. Even though it's frozen, you can start by taking your compost, and you can create an area on your property where you actually have compost started to decay now. And that will add life to the soil as the process goes. But
just make sure, guys, okay, that if you want to use compost, make sure that you're not using any processed foods. Remember something. Does everybody understand something? I need you to get this. The soil, we have to feed the soil, right? Well, that's like feeding your good bacteria in your gut. How many people know that your large intestine is actually a compost, and it's actually creating the health of your good bacteria or not. So what you put in your mouth, by the time it travels 30 feet, it is now fermenting. Okay, so it's fermenting. But if you put in processed foods or toxic foods, they're not fermenting, they're putrefying. So they go in and they alter the good bacteria, and they destroy your good bacteria, make it go bad. And when you get bad bacteria, you get bad thoughts, you get bad health. So understand something. As Louis Pasteur said, the terrain is everything, and it decides what bug is going to live in there. So remember that your large intestine is a compost. So what you put in your mouth will actually become the compost. So if you have a really poor diet and you're not eating high vibrational foods, then your compost is not high vibrational, either are your bacteria. And whether you believe this or not, your bacteria are the smartest part of you, and your bacteria are 85% of a human's immune system. So your large intestine is the holy grail, just like what is the best compost to use, Jim? So when people are building a compost, what can I throw in my compost and I shouldn't throw in my compost?
So that question has been debated by permaculturists forever. I throw almost everything in my compost, even meat. Even I do a lot of fishing. We catch a lot of fish. And I love burying the fish carcasses underground, and the plants go nuts with these things. Even turkey, even bigger carcasses, you just might want to do it logically, right? You won't want to put those on top of land somewhere. They'll just be dug up and made a hole. You might bury those a little deeper. And then there's certain citruses that you don't want to have like a massive amount of citrus in a particular compost. But frankly, I put everything in, and then I'm aware if there's an overbalance of one thing, if it's out of balance, then I might separate it a little bit. But basically, all kitchen scraps are great compost.
Okay, so I live in Alaska, as this gentleman's saying. How do I build a compost? It's frozen.
Yeah, so, well, it'll thaw out eventually.
I know, but what do I do with all my compost? Just throw it out there and let it freeze, and then then when it thaws out, then it does its thing, or should I build something, put it in my garage?
Yeah, there's multiple ways you could do it. You could start it, if you want to start the decomposition process earlier, you could put it in a box, in a kind of an airtight box in the garage or somewhere. We start where we have 2 5-gallon buckets with lids on them, and we put them here, and then we move them to the property, which is about a half an hour away. Or you could put a bin out and back, and you could start throwing your wood chips and your compost and different things in there. Even tree limbs, even leaves. Take all your leaves and put it all in a big bin in the backyard, and then it'll actually heat up. A good compost will actually heat up. If it's super cold, it might freeze. But you can run copper pipe through different compost, maybe put some cow manure or horse manure or chicken manure on there, and you can actually heat water by running the water through your compost.
Okay, great. So people are asking, okay, so help me get started, Jim. There's a lot of information here. My head is swirling. Please help me out. So do you have videos? Do you have information I can read? Is there something I can join? Is there a class that I can take that's like a master class so I can hack this thing and be ready for the spring thaw? There you go.
I love it. So here's exactly what I suggest you do. On our website, foodforestabundance.com, we offer a free 30-minute consultation with one of our professional growers, with one of our permaculture.
Wait a minute. They get to talk to somebody live for 30 minutes?
For free. It's an incredible value.
Okay, good, great. And where do I go?
It's foodforestabundance.com is where you go, and you can sign up today for a free chat. And then if you want, you can do this all on your own. We are about inspiring people to grow food. So if you want to start with $20 and go to the store, buy food and get seeds and start growing, you can do that. If you want to speed up the process, then we also offer those services in the design, especially starting with design.
So yeah, you'll strategize, you'll design their plan. Okay, so what's that going to cost me, Jim?
Design for a backyard food forest. It's a full landscaping design with layers of food from underground to the overstories and every detail. It's about $11.97 for a backyard design, and then we are now engaged to design whole communities, new developments, HOA communities, prisons, senior care. We're designing all over the world because our price point is incredible for the value.
Great. And do you mind if I tell them about Puerto Rico?
Please do.
So I'm not saying this is going to happen. You know, we start off with a dream. Sometimes the dream happens because when you're dealing with other people. But right now, the Puerto Rican government is talking to through somebody with us, and I'm actually going there in May they want to show me a building that they want to give Jim and I, okay? I mean, you heard what I said, and property if we will bring my organization and Jim's organization to Puerto Rico. Guys, we want to do this all over the world, but the Puerto Rican government is rolling out a red carpet for us, aren't they, Jim?
Yeah.
They want us there. And understand, in Puerto Rico, that's part of the United States, everybody. That is America, but they're not treated like it. And in Puerto Rico, they only grow 17% of their food. Now, this is not a good situation. Now, I want to ask you, how much of your food do you grow? And I'll tell you something, if I wasn't going to grow any of my food, I'd live somewhere where it's sunny, okay, and where it's tropical, where you can pick things off the trees all year long. You need to get this, everyone. If you're going to live where it freezes or where you can't have things growing all year long, you might want to think about that, because I trust my government like, no, I don't. I was going to say this far, but no, I don't. No far. Okay, that's a fart. The reality is this: you need to make sure that you've got food stored or you're growing something, you know, that you can. They even have these towers in the house, right, where you can grow food in towers, right?
Yes, I like those towers. I've built several of them, and for certain areas, they are functional. But the best return on investment is going to be putting food in the soil. And again, there are many cold weather permaculture designs around the world that have proven massive abundance using these techniques.
Yeah, but are you saying that, okay, what if I lived, okay, is there a way that I can inexpensively grow food all year round in the winter? No.
Well, you can grow indoors. You can stick to some of the crops that are going to provide you the best benefit. I love sweet potatoes and different spinaches that have a high nutrient density. And, you know, with chickens, you can take a greenhouse, you can put chickens in the greenhouse and a gas system, an earth battery system, and you can keep your greenhouse above freezing all year long.
What, with chickens? The chickens would keep it from freezing?
Chickens are like heaters, yes.
Okay, all right. There you go. So anyways, but if I were to actually, so they can come and watch a half an hour, no, they can come on, they can watch a video, okay, at foodforestabundance.com. They can have a half an hour session for free, no obligation, so I can just go in there. And then if I want to go further and really strategize, then I can commit, and then you guys will create a plan.
That's exactly right. And you don't have to put in your credit card or none of that BS, right? I think you might sign up for our newsletter, and you can cancel that anytime you want. And we'll talk with you for a half an hour with a professional. You ask any question you want. It's not a sales pitch. It's how can we help you? And by doing that, we've gotten an incredible return on that service invested. It's amazing.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll be back on again with Jim again. Jim, is there anything you'd like to leave people with?
Just want to encourage you to grow food. I know there's a lot of people out there that are scared right now. Let go of all of the fear in your life. Know that we are more than this. This is a temporary experience. And then go plant seeds of freedom, of wisdom in your own yard and with your friends and family.
Thank you, Jim. And thanks everybody for joining us. And we'll be back again with Jim. God bless everyone.